Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. How are you this morning? So glad to have you along with us as I get ready to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. And as always, thanks for joining me. A lot of things you could be doing this morning. The fact that you're here with me is much appreciated. I'll tell you who's coming up on the show here shortly. The Red Wing Blackbirds. Hey, Craig. It was so nice to see you Saturday night, you and Michelle. Thanks for your generosity. I appreciate it. Good morning, Randy. Good morning, John. Look forward to hunting with you in Ohio, you and your dad. That'll be a lot of fun. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Ricky. Yeah, all is well with me in my world. I hope it is with you as well. Davina, good morning. Sorry we missed you guys. Sorry for your family's loss. Julie, good morning. I'm doing great. How are you? Hey, Josh. How you doing, buddy? I'm itching to get out on the bay. I talked to Brad yesterday. My boat is, they're doing some cosmetic fixes on my boat. It's ready to go, but I asked for one little cosmetic change, and Brad said they're working on that. Bernie, where'd you go, Bernie? Good morning, Bernie. Bernie, how you feeling? Billy, appreciate you being along with us. Saw your first dead skunk. The Red Wing Blackbirds came back to the pond yesterday. Uncle Johnny, how are you? So glad. Thanks for your generosity, and happy birthday to your lovely bride as well. Kevin, good morning. How are you? Jerry checking in from the Adirondacks in New York. Josh is on the bay. Had a great day on the bay last Sunday. There was no wind Sunday either, was there? If I remember right. I saw that, Davina. Another snowstorm expected. Mother Nature, you are if I wasn't on the mic right now, I'd have a very descriptive term for you. Joe, it was so nice to see you and your wife. Thank you so much for showing up at the Making the Drive and coming over to the Trinity Wild Game Dinner and Auction. It was a huge success. It was a great event. It was a lot of fun. We have not seen the final numbers, but it looks like we were very successful. Look at who this is. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Monroe, the marketing director for Angler Quest and Polar Craft. Kristen, how are you this morning? Nice to have you along with us. Kristen, just a great person and a great person to work with. And she represents two wonderful companies. Well, Apex Marine. Kristen, I was just talking about my Angler Quest. I was talking to Brad. My boat is ready to go. He's making a minor cosmetic change. And Kristen, you will appreciate this. He's making a minor cosmetic change. So at the back of the boat, at the workstation there, it says Angler Quest, because I take a lot of pictures and I shoot a lot of video right there, and we want to be able to show off Angler Quest. As soon as that's done, I think my boat will be ready to rock. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn Truck Plant. Good morning, Jason. How are you? John says Dixie Day's food was amazing. Kristen says she's doing great, as she always does. By the way, there will be an Angler Quest tournament on Saginaw Bay. Kristen, help me out. July 22nd out of Linwood Beach Marina. Tim Bids, good morning. How are you? Tim, you couldn't make the Trinity dinner, but you will be joining us for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack on the 22nd, I believe, right? You and Jen? Jason, good morning. How are you? Kevin says no safe ice in West Branch. I believe that. Lee, I don't recognize your name. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Yes, July 22nd. Thank you, Kristen. And you can sign up for that probably on the website anglerquestpontoons.com, if I remember right. Jerry, good morning. How are you? He's calling me Captain Mike. I appreciate that. Joe, you're going to join us on the 22nd. Excellent. Darren, good morning. Cardiac rehab, I'm good for another 72 years. I wouldn't wish another 72 years on anybody, but if that's what you want, have at it. Excellent, Jason. I'll look forward to seeing you guys there. Anyway, that Trinity dinner was such a success. We had so many. Well, Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest himself, and his beautiful wife, Bridget, joined us for that dinner. I appreciate that. Tracy, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining us. I'm a bear man. What would you do with a package of ground bear meat? Any suggestions? Yeah, I'd make spaghetti or chili out of it. Yep. Scott, I was wondering the same thing. I was the auctioneer. I auctioned it off. I know who. Well, no, that was a live. That was an online auction. I will find out for you, Scott, because I was wondering the same thing. I have not seen that list yet, but thank you for making your donation. He wants a bow. Yeah, the Binns family can pretty much be guaranteed they're going to win a dart and crossbow if one's available. Mad Jack, how are things over on YouTube? I actually went to Jay's and I put my name on a 10-point crossbow up there. I think I'm going to make the switch. Matthew, good morning. I appreciate your kind comments. Patrick, how are you on this beautiful sunny day? At least it is here outside the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. A couple things I want to talk about. I wanted to mention the Red Wing Blackbirds came back. Gary checking in from Eastern Iowa. How are things there, Gary? Iowa, the big buck state of Iowa. The drawings for Michigan turkey permits, they've been announced. I took some grief because I spent the $5 on Hunt ZZ, even though I probably didn't need to. But I love turkey hunting too much that I'm not going to let a $5 bill get in the way of me and turkey hunting. Why am I going to switch? Interesting question. I love Dart and Bows. I love the Darton Company. I love the people at Darton. Ted Harpham is a personal friend of mine. I have much respect for Darton, and I am extremely loyal. Darton's coming out with a new crossbow, but apparently it's not going to be done by the time turkey season gets here. And I'm just looking for a change. So 10-point is one of them I'm looking at. I've shot Darton bows for 30 years, but I'm just looking to make a little bit of a change. And so actually the Viper S400 is the one I have my name on. But I have no problem with Darton bows. I love them. Really wanted to see the new Darton crossbow, but it's not quite going to be done in time for my springtime bear hunt in White River, Ontario, Canada, or my springtime turkey hunt. What do they call that? The crank with the strap on it. AccuSlide. It's pretty slick. My son James has one. And when I saw that, I kind of fell in love. What else? Oh, many of you may have seen my post. I had Rick says Ted is a friend of his too, but he has a 10-point. AccuDraw. Is it called the AccuDraw or AccuSlide? I think the AccuDraw was the one that had that big monstrosity built into the handle. I think the AccuSlide is the one. Maybe not. I'm fairly new to the world of 10-point crossbows. Anyway, I had a hearing test yesterday. Yeah, we can do it real quick, Pat.
I'm going to keep you on mic too, because I have to go across.
All right. I'm not hearing myself. There we go. Yeah. This is a mic test for Pat Johnston here in the studio. You're doing the show today too, aren't you, Pat? Okay. Testing the mic. Not this mic. You can hear this mic. This is my official social media mic. This is my broadcast mic. They're actually two identical microphones, but they're hooked into two different systems. So I can do my live streaming, and I try to do the live streaming as professionally as possible, using, broadcast quality microphones. I'm in a radio studio. I try to make the audio as good as I can. And I'm actually using my phone as my camera, but my phone puts out such good video that I'm pretty happy with it. Good morning, Mike. How are you? Appreciate you joining me, Mike Avery, on this edition of Behind the Mic. It's actually Mike behind two different microphones. We call it Behind the Mic. Wednesday evenings at 7, I do a live stream called Wednesday Night Live. 2 weeks from tonight, we will be at the Lumberjack restaurant in West Branch doing a Wednesday Night Live. If you would like to join us, call 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892 to get your reservations. Well, and isn't that true, Tim? Because our hearing tends to go in the high frequencies first. My wife, Denise, has a very soft voice. I have a hard time hearing her. It's to the point where when she talks to me, I have to be looking at her so I can see what she's saying. And God forbid I get in a noisy room. Good morning, John. How are you? He says, good morning, Captain. Captain Mike. I am a licensed charter captain. I do not do paid charters. I do. I got my captain's license so I could do charity events. And let me tell you something. I loaded up my calendar this summer, maybe a bit too much. I'm going to have to almost take a summer off work and be a full-time captain to get in the trips that I've committed to this summer. Hey, good morning, Mike. How are you? I tell you what, Mike, I ran into Mike at First Baptist Church in Clare. Friday night, I was doing an event there. It was good to see you, Mike, and meet your wife. Mike loaded me up with some of the products. Mike is an expert when it comes to processing wild game and beef as well. It's excellent, Mike. And I was just telling Pat Johnston here in the studio, it was my intent to bring in some jerky this morning to share with the guys here, and I forgot. But they will, I'll get it next week. Angie, good morning. How are you? No, that is not selective hearing. I'm going to fight the hearing aids, Tim. I'm going to try not to get hearing aids, although because I'm right on the border. I'm right on the border. Brian says, nice pics of you and Fred Bear the other day. So see, there's an advantage to being an old guy. My hearing is going, but my hearing is actually going not from age, but from shooting, not wearing hearing protection when I was young and stupid. So the advantage of being an old guy, let me turn that off, is that I've been around for a while and I've had a chance to do some cool things and meet some cool people. And yes, I did post pictures of me and Fred Bear in honor of his birthday, which was Saturday. I forgot I posted them on Sunday, but yeah. And in fact, this week on the radio show, I will tell the story of how I met Fred Bear. Good morning, Mike. How are you? Joel said he heard some birds gobbling this morning. Yeah, hearing aids aren't going to fix your tinnitus, or tinnitus, as they call it these days. But yeah, you saw, I posted the curve for both ears, and everything's pretty good until you get to like 4,000 cycles or 4,000 cycles a minute, 4,000 hertz. And then it goes, thank God I don't need to hear well to fish walleye on Saginaw Bay on the Angler Quest. All I have to do is hear fish on. I'm so excited to get back on the bay. So excited to get on that new Angler Quest. It's an 8526 Pro Troll with a 300 horse. Mercury outboard. John says, maybe you can't hear as well, but you can see better being older. You can spot an idiot from a mile away. 70 miles per gallon says, good morning, fellow Americans. I don't recognize you 70 miles per gallon, but I appreciate you joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. I'll be back here tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Trolling speed is in my hearing range. It is. 2.6. I can hear everything at 2.6 miles an hour. Well, Brian, when I'm walleye fishing, I don't often hear the drag scream. The only time I hear the drag scream when I'm walleye fishing, 2 times. I hear it when a big pike hits the bait, and that's good. And I can also hear it when a sheephead hits. And people who are not used to being out there, they find it funny because, you know, I can tell, and Scott Hand can as well. There's Scott right there. I can tell when a fish hits pretty much what it is, whether it's a walleye, a pike, or a sheephead. And we'll be fishing along, and a board will go back, and it'll take off. I go, that's not a walleye. People say, how do you know? Well, listen, I've seen enough walleye. I've seen enough walleye hit baits, and I've seen how the boards react, and I've seen enough sheephead hit, and I see how the board reacts. I know. I can tell. And that's why the newbies, the rookies on the boat, I say, why don't you go ahead and take that fish? Because they're going to be in for a heck of a fight. Because those sheephead fight like crazy. Mike, how you doing, buddy? Jim, thanks for joining us. Dave, always a pleasure. How are you? I heard from your nephew the other day. He had a question for me. Okay. Davina wants to know who's on. Oh, before I forget, VersaSkins, versaskins.com. There is a 40% discount on everything on the online VersaSkins store through Saturday or through the weekend. If you use the promo code Avery40, that's Avery40, you can get 40% off. Let me verify that. I want to give you the right code. Avery40 for 1 week, 40% off the entire store. Avery40 at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Just change your skin for the season you're in. You're right. AccuSlide is a new integral cocking system. AccuDraw is the sled. He says, either way, he says, I'm not paying $3,600 for a crossbow or $90,000 for a pickup. Well, Dennis, I'm not paying $3,600 for a crossbow either. That's about, I'm going to pay less than a third of that. And I didn't pay $90,000 for my truck either. 6 minutes, Pat says. Waiting for clean water. When we get some clear water, I'm going to go jigging the Saginaw River with Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand from his Polar Craft. I'm working forward to that. Nick says he met Nick Grillo. Nick's a great guy. Okay, Davina wants to know who is on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this weekend. The Outdoor Magazine radio show, of course, heard on more than 30 broadcast stations across the great state of Michigan. The podcast version of the show is available anywhere. I mean, literally anywhere you get your podcast. We're going to kick off the show this week talking about wolf hunting in Ontario. People, why, Avery? This is a Michigan-based show because the people in Michigan are interested in wolves and they're interested in killing wolves legally. You can go to Ontario and do that. Daryl Godden, a friend of mine from White River, Ontario, Canada, is a wolf hunting guide up there. Then Pete Patsalis, he is a Polar Craft. I don't know if he's a pro staffer or not, but we featured him on the Polar Craft podcast, a fishing report from the St. Clair River. In hour number 2, the new Michigan DNR fisheries chief. His name is Randy Claremont. I want to talk with him about what he sees as priorities, what he sees as challenges. I also want to talk with him about the relationship with the tribes because Randy used to be a fisheries biologist for one of the tribes. We actually had Jeff Janis of Green Bay Packers on a Dart and Archery podcast a few years ago. Then Nick Green of MUCC. Nick says, what do you want to talk about? I said, I want to talk about the efforts by the Democrats in the state legislature to institute gun control on us. And he said, we're talking to our members about that, but we're not ready to talk publicly about it because it has bit us in the rear end and we don't want to sabotage our efforts. Nick, if you're watching, I appreciate that, and I understand. And then in hour number 3, Scott Hand, are you listening? Scott Hand, who won the first Angler Quest Owners Tournament on Saginaw Bay last year. Good morning, Captain Jim. Right back at you, buddy. It was great to see you. Thanks for joining us at our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bear Whisperer himself, Johnny Bowler. Johnny, it was so nice to see you and Heidi. Thank you for your generosity. It was great to see you. Doug Ward, another Angler Quest guy. Good morning, Doug. How are you? Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Davina says, good morning, Johnny. Okay, and then in hour number 3, Al Stewart. Not the Al Stewart who sang Year of the Cat. Year of the Cat. There's another earworm for you, Pat.
Yes.
But, Andrew, sup, bro? Sup, bro, with you, Andy? Al Stewart, who used to be with the DNR, he's now with the Nimrod. What do they call it? Nimrod Group. Anyway, it's at Hillsdale College. Bill Hahn. Don't you ever call me Mr. Avery, Mr. Hahn. Bill, thanks for the invitation to speak at your church Friday night. I enjoyed it. You got a great group of people there. You were one of my most respected friends. I have much respect for you, brother. Bill is the buyer, the hunting department buyer at Jay Sporting Goods, jsportinggoods.com. It was a great time, Johnny. Anyway, I want to talk Scott Hand. I want to talk with Al Stewart about turkey numbers, about turkey hunting, and about this email I got from a guy who claims, and I don't mean that in a negative way. He says, this is real small text. He says there is no reason to have a turkey drawing application. No hunts were ever sold out by the end of the license period, resulting in a 0% quota sold being less than 100%. He says the DNR is ripping off Michigan turkey hunters by having a draw. And since Al is no longer with the DNR, maybe he can talk about that. And then afterwards, we're going to record this month's AnglerQuest podcast with John Bergsma of Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest TV. You are more than welcome, Bill. Brian said he's seeing some long beards. Max is down in Fort Myers, Florida. Other than the Lumberjack, do we have any other events coming up? No, the Lumberjack will be wrapping things up. We will do a Wednesday night live from my new AnglerQuest. I will do two of them. I will do one Wednesday night live when I get the new AnglerQuest. I will do it docked from the dock as I walk you through that new boat. And then once we get into June, we'll do a Wednesday night live, I expect, with Mr. AnglerQuest himself, Brad Dupuis, walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay. Mike, it was great to see you at the dinner. Kevin says, awesome pictures of the great Fred Bear. Kevin, honestly, don't you think the picture of me with Fred Bear was actually more awesome than the pictures of Fred himself? I'm just saying.
30 seconds.
Ravenwood Gardens. Johnny's going to try to get to the Lumberjack. Excellent. I better start a clock here then. 30 seconds. Okay, this is a 12-minute segment. There is a 12 minutes right there. I'm going to hide. Good morning, Cap. Right back at you.
This is just for me real quick.
Yep. Jason Graham of Linwood Beach Marina and Send It Charters. I hear you had a great event. Give me a countdown, Pat.
We'll go in 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. All right. You know the routine here. Meaning that I will not be able to directly interact with you now because I have to record the first segment of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Covered the outdoors for more than 4 decades. That's why he's old enough to sit with Fred Bear, and that's why his hearing is gone, because he's an old man who used to shoot with no hearing protection when he was younger. That pretty much sums up the first segment of the show. Anyway, I got to change focus here, and I won't be able to directly interact with you and answer your questions. I'll have to record the show. Thanks, Kevin. All right, my friends, I got to go. Have a good day. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, indeed, this is a radio show. And I'm so glad to have you along with us. There are a lot of things that you could be doing right now, a lot of different media you could be watching or listening to or consuming in some way. And the fact that you're hearing my voice does mean a lot. I would not be able to do this without your support. If nobody listened to this, if nobody watched the live streams, if nobody listened to the podcast, if nobody followed me on social media, I wouldn't be able to do it. And the fact that you have allowed me to be on the airwaves here in Michigan, now online here in Michigan for more than 4 decades, I do appreciate it. And my heartfelt thanks goes out to you. So as I look around right now, what's going on? Mother Nature, I'm not happy with Mother Nature this year. She is throwing her weight around, that's for sure. But I did get the red-winged blackbirds returning on the pond behind the house this week. In fact, as we're recording the show right now, I walked out yesterday afternoon and I heard those birds and I said, all right, Mother Nature, you can throw all this other crap at us that you want, but the red-winged blackbirds are back, the skunks are back. So in my mind, springtime is right here, if not just around the corner. I always love the sound of those birds. It's a sound that I hear all summer long, and every time I hear one, I try to consciously enjoy that sound. I don't realize it when they're gone. when they leave, I don't walk out there and go, oh, the Red Wings are gone. I don't notice that. But when they come back in the springtime, I do certainly recognize it, and I do certainly enjoy that sound. So thank you, Mother Nature, for that little gem of springtime. I do appreciate it. What else makes me think of springtime? Oh, the DNR let out the turkey hunting application. The drawings were announced. I got ZZ, which is the Southern Michigan private land hunt that runs for 6 weeks. If you have access to private land in Southern Michigan and you like to hunt turkeys or you want to get started in turkey hunting, I strongly recommend ZZ. It gives you plenty of time to get out there, and there are a lot of tags for ZZ. So I posted on my Facebook page that I got my tag, and I did get some grief from people. They said, why are you spending $5 to apply for that tag when you can go buy it over the counter? And that's a good question. That's a legitimate question. That's a valid question. In fact, any question you send my way is a legitimate, valid question if you mean it in a sincere manner. Well, the reason I pay $5 to apply for a tag that I most likely would be able to buy over the counter is I love turkey hunting so much, I don't want to take a chance that tag wouldn't be available. Well, Avery, statistically, it's always there. Okay, fine, good. Statistically, it's always there. What if we get some kind of a weird year where all of a sudden people in Michigan want to pick up turkey hunting, and because I was so cheap, I wouldn't spend $5 to guarantee a tag. When it comes time to buy the tag, it's not available. It would break my heart because I was so cheap, I wouldn't spend the $5. Now, there are some people, and I understand this, there are some people who hate the DNR so much and are so philosophically opposed to the DNR that they don't want to give the DNR that extra $5. And that's fine. If you're in that category, that's fine. God bless you. You have a right to do what you want to do with your money and with your efforts. I'm not going to take a chance. I did get an email from a guy who laid out a very well thought out scenario. In fact, he proposed this. He presented this to the Natural Resources Commission back in 2019. And he says, DNR, you are ripping Michigan hunters off. You are making a bunch of money on the backs of Michigan hunters over this turkey application drawing process when it's not necessary. And I will cover that more later in the show, probably in the third hour, as I talk with Al Stewart, formerly of the DNR, about this very issue. But I'm happy because I spent the $5 and I'm guaranteed ZZ, the Southern Michigan private land 6-week turkey hunting season. And I am already getting very excited about that. I'm also getting excited about getting the new Angler Quest out on Saginaw Bay. I talked to Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest, the other day. In fact, he was at our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner. What a success that was. Thank you to everyone who showed up. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who bid. Thank you to everyone who contributed. Thank you to Dixie Dave for cooking up a great meal. It was just a wonderful event. I feel so blessed to be a part of that. And it was great. Anyway, I was talking to Brad. I said, hey, they're doing a minor cosmetic change on my Angler Quest. And again, it's strictly cosmetic, and it deals with the positioning. And this is, you might think it's stupid, but from my perspective, it's not, because while I'm on that boat, I'm always shooting photos. I'm always shooting video. And I was looking for the positioning of an Angler Quest logo in just the right spot so I could promote Angler Quest as much as possible, because I stand behind that Michigan-based family-owned company, and I think they make great products. So I want to take advantage of every promotional opportunity. So they're working on that right now. I don't think it'll be long before I'll take possession of that boat. I'll get it up to Linwood Beach Marina, have them give it a on-the-water rundown, and then we should be ready to go. Coming up the 22nd, which is pretty soon now, the 22nd, Wednesday the 22nd, we're going to do another Wednesday Night Live in person. This one will be at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. If you would like to join us, you do need to make a reservation, just so we know how many people are there and so we don't overbook the event. Call 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. I don't like giving out phone numbers on the air. If If you didn't get a chance to write that down, 989-343-0892, you can send me an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com is my email address. Send me an email and say, hey, Avery, what was that phone number? If you call and no one answers, if you get an answering machine, leave your name, how many people will be joining you, and a phone number so the folks from the Lumberjack can call you back to confirm that reservation. On that evening, Wednesday, the 22nd at 7 o'clock, extreme long-range shooting champion Paul Phillips will be joining us. Paul, a great friend of mine, and he has graciously agreed to join us that night. He's going to bring up the rifle that they just shot 4 miles at, a documented 4-mile shot. He's going to bring up that rifle, and he will talk extreme long-range shooting. Ted Harpham of Darton Archery will be with us. He's going to bring a little something to give away as well. Sherry Harpham of Freakin' Pickles will be joining us. She's going to have some gift certificates for Freakin' Pickles. And I have invited some others as well. I haven't heard back yet, so I don't want to commit them to an event that they can't make. But that's Wednesday, March 22nd at the Lumberjack Restaurant. Doors open at 5:30. We will go live at 6. Call 989-343-0892 to make your reservations, and I hope you can join us. What else? Oh, let's see. Well, I had a hearing test this week. Yeah, it didn't go so well. That could have gone better. I know that my hearing is suffering. And of course, some of it is from age, but not a lot of it. I know my hearing is bad because when I was young and stupid, I used to go to concerts and stand in front of the speakers. How dumb is that? But then I also, over the course of my life, have done some shooting without hearing protection. And there are a couple of situations that I know have screwed up my hearing. One of them was the first time I ever had a chance to shoot a 45 1911. And I shot it, and I shot it, and I shot it with no hearing protection. And because it was so fun to shoot. And when I was done shooting that thing, I couldn't hear the people around me talk. It was just a muffled sound like that. And my ears rang for 2 days. And I know that screwed up my hearing. So please wear hearing protection, especially if you're younger and you haven't lost your hearing yet. Please wear hearing protection while you're shooting. I'm paying the price now. I'm trying to avoid hearing aids. I'm right on the verge of needing them or not. I'm going to try to get by without them just because of my vanity. What else? Who's on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week, you might ask? Coming up after the break, Daryl Godden. He's a wolf hunting guide, a friend of mine from White River, Ontario, Canada. And you say, Avery, why do we care about wolf hunting in Ontario? Because a lot of people in Michigan care about wolves, and a lot of people in Michigan would like to be able to shoot wolves. We can't do it legally in Michigan, but you can go north of the border and you can have a wonderful hunt with Daryl. We're going to talk about that. Then Pat Salas checks in for the St. Clair River with a fishing report. In hour number 2, Randy Claremont. Randy is the new DNR fisheries chief. I want to talk with him about what's on his agenda. I want to talk with him about his past and how that might affect his dealing with the fishery here in Michigan in the future. Then Nick Green of MUCC checks in. This week's Ask Avery segment talks about me and Fred Bear and some pictures I posted online. And in our third hour, Al Stewart, formerly a DNR biologist, I want to talk with him about turkey hunting in Michigan. And he's not in the department now, so he's not constrained by to his comments. His comments aren't constrained by the department. I want to talk with him about declining turkey numbers. How big a deal is this? And then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. My email address, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Kristen, are you still listening? I got Apex in there a lot, didn't I? All right, my friends. I see a lot of you came on here. I wasn't able to directly answer your questions, but I appreciate you being along. If you can, please join me tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. That'll be, that looks kind of freaky, doesn't it? That'll be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. That's at 7 o'clock. Have a great day, my friends.